pieces that her husband had previously bought her. Here's what went down.
So your husband bought his piece, and you took it where he been at and smashed it right in front of him? Instant karma. Now it is definitely karma. I can't blame her because he was the one who actually treated her. She just ended his whole career in one move, and it only cost her $5,000.
From evil plots failing explosively to the greatest form of revenge you'll ever lay eyes on. Each true karma story coming up gets crazier than the last. Starting with, since humans developed guns, we've been at a bit of an unfair advantage against the other animals of the world. But with the help of karma, one bird decided to
Not all animals can actually fight against humans, because if you get guns, you know, one bullet to the head of an animal, boom, they're dead.
During its final moments. After being shot by a porch-dwelling casual, they didn't expect a grand display of gratitude in return. But they didn't expect to be stolen from, either, though that's exactly what the hitchhiker had in mind. When they arrived at the hitchhiker's destination, the free rider hastily departed and was out of sight before the driver realized they'd stolen his cigarettes. Good karma had punishment lined up and ready to go.
I'm gonna be too mad. I can go and buy
When the driver looked into the bed of his truck, he noticed the hitchhiker had left something behind. There was their bag, containing their phone, toiletries, clothes, address book, a few coins, and some sentimental-looking items. Deciding against seeking out the hitchhiker to return his only worldly possessions, the driver wrote it off as a fair deal. The deal being that the thief had traded everything they owned for 18 cigarettes. Moving on, let's talk...
That's smart. I get it, but when you're eating cigarettes, you ain't trade for nothing else?
YouTuber Monty races away, cutting
flip?
off and endangering various drivers, including another police car. Eventually, Teeny's little rampage comes to an end when he prangs a turning car. Luckily, the turning driver was unharmed. The driver did call the police, but Teeny was only sent to motorbike boot camp. Don't worry, though. I wouldn't leave you without a satisfying ending. While at boot camp, Teeny got into a fight, and the judge... But thankfully, the rules of physics don't make exceptions for jerks with more money than brains. Nowhere is this better exemplified than in the countless cases of arrogant rule breakers getting stuck in wet cement while trying to beat the game. These cases are ridiculously common and extremely satisfying.
The great thing about racing drivers who like to drive on the street, you don't see no signs that tell you that the pavement is wet. Like, you don't pay attention.
To behold. There's nothing like cement to really put someone in their place and keep them there.
Really
the sad fact is that all too often, there's not much that can prevent someone committed to a deadly mission from carrying it out. But in London, in 2019, karma stepped in and turned the tables on a heinous into seemingly divine intervention of karma. It seems what goes around really does come back around. Sometimes, even bullets. Stupid is as stupid does, and what stupid does is breaking into a police car for the hell of it. That's what one very entitled young woman did in early 2025, when she and her friend were being scolded by a cop for their dangerous driving. While the talk was occurring, one of the girls snuck out of their car and over to the unattended police vehicle, where she sat in the back and awaited the cops' return.
Why are you laughing? Why do you think this is funny? This is not funny.
Wait, the cop in my car?
I thought the cop didn't see.
I thought she didn't.
What?
Are you?
Hold the phone. I'm the police car. You asked her to take you to the bar? You can walk yourself to a bar? Or you can drive to it? No.
Both of you get over here right now. Give me your IDs. What in your mind would make you think that you should get in the back of a cop car? I'm sorry. Give me your ID now.
Are you crazy?
Absolutely unbelievable, right? Tell me you have zero self-preservation skills without telling me. Needless to say, she never got her ride to the bar. Instead, this little lapse of judgment led to the woman being arrested, thrown in the back of the car for real, and charged with criminal mischief. But most of all, providing the world with a hugely embarrassing lesson on how not to act around the cops. If you're loving this karma-tastic video so far, head over to our official store via the link on screen.
Hey, if you loving what you see, subscribe, like, and comment. And and all above.
Get yourself some karma. Something new. Stocks last. ignition while parked.
I can't believe you've done this.
But luckily, what pulled up to the gas station? Twilling 8's Jeep itself. It seemed the thieves behind the wheel had decided to fill up before making their getaway. Twilling 8 pressed the store's silent alarm, alerting the police, and snuck out while the thieves were pumping the last few drops of gas into the tank. Then he sneakily opened the Jeep, took his keys out, and retreated to the gas station. He watched in smug joy as the thieves helplessly searched for the keys and were so preoccupied they didn't notice the police arriving. When the cops, on a morning like any other, driving around Hamilton, Ontario, a dashcam user captured some ultra-satisfying instant karma, the likes of which the world has never seen. A macho man pedestrian decides he's king of the road while jaywalking and launches a game of chicken in a busy street. Never the mark of genius.
Why are you jaywalking and then you walking so slow and staring at the person in the car like you mean to walk that slow? What's wrong with you?
Walk that one off, buddy, and maybe look where you're going next time.
I'm glad you hit that hole. No king.
When a farmer in the UK grew tired of fly tippers dumping their trash on his land, he took to patrolling the vicinity at night to catch them in the act. He was successful and confronted a couple of white van men intruding on his property in April 2019. And delightfully, the farmer had brought a friend along. That friend happened to be driving a digger and wasted no time ramming into the junk-laden van and tipping it over. As this farmer proved, the only way to deal with fly tippers is to tip them right back. In a similar vein, I'd like to share with you one of the most satisfying pieces of vengeance-fueled karma I've ever seen. After enduring months of strife from people illegally dumping tires on his land, a farmer in Wigan, England, took karma into his own hands. The farmer, Stuart Baldwin, put on his detective hat and was able to track down the individual responsible. He paid a visit to the dumper's home, telling him he had 3 days to remove all the tires or face consequences. 3 days came and went with no progress. So Stuart brought a team together and did this.
Fantastic. That's what the gets.
Oh, alright, that messed up.
Ain't it a thing of beauty? It's like Grandpappy used to say, if karma ain't moving quick enough, dump 400 tires on your enemy's porch.
400 tires?
When an Irish fellow went to visit his father's grave in 2017, the last thing he expected at the cemetery was a damn good laugh. But when he stumbled across a truly bizarre crime scene, that's exactly what he got. The cemetery was home to a fake brick-cladded building with a heavy door, and the visitor was surprised to find that overnight, someone had cut a
good value that you can go to a pawn shop and sell it for so much money. It depends on how old the value is in the old places like that.
By Arj. What? They'd broken into a cemetery bathroom. Stick to bank vaults next time, maybe.
You broke into
Next, we have a man who found himself staring karma right in the face after a flight to Florida. The man in question, Matthew Moulton, had been escorted to Daytona Beach Airport by police after he was found to have sent violent threats to a Florida sheriff in early 2025. When he arrived in Florida, who was waiting for him but the man himself, who was none too pleased about having been threatened. Check out the moment these star-crossed lovers met for the first time.
Matthew, I'm Sheriff Chitwood. I'm the guy you want to kill. And there's nothing I can do about it. Challenge accepted.
Wait, what? 7?
But you do know in Florida, written threat to kill is a felony. You know that. Well, look, just so you know, I'm the one who made sure you came back. And I hope you enjoy your stay at the branch jail. I will also tell you that you will not see Mickey Mouse on this trip, and you have to reimburse us for your flight here and for your stay at the county jail. Why don't you look me in the eye and tell me
never threat anybody that you want them dead. Never. Because that can cause you to go to jail. Don't ever threat anybody that you want to kill them. Don't.
Why do you want me dead? Why do you want me dead?
I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
So am I.
All I can do is to know
So am I.
You are not
How do you know that?
But why do you want him
Because in
dead?
Corinthians it says,
He
bondman Christian.
Why do you want him dead?
Christian.
We're going to take you where you need to go.
But
We
why
make sure
you
the cell has
threat
rubber in it.
him?
I'm the guy you want to kill. Challenge
him
accepted.
dead?
That's pretty badass. It's a moment I'm sure I will be playing over and over in Matthew's head during his time in the slammer.
Like that.
In 2018, a security guard at a 7-Eleven in Gardena, California, spotted two suspicious hooded figures walking into the store and proceeding to rob the place. Fearing for the cashier's life, the security guard stormed in and dispatched both robbers before calling the cops. While neither of the robbers were seriously seriously injured, the cops were surprised to find upon their arrival that the gun-toting robber's weapon was actually a non-functional replica. In jail, the amateur criminals would have plenty of time to reflect on the dangers of bringing a toy to a gun.
He had toy. He had a gun that looked like a real gun with firing fake bullets that couldn't even harm you for a second.
They moved into a new house. They disliked the fact that their kitchen window looked straight into their neighbor's kitchen. Seeking some privacy, they laid down a load of plants so the view would be obscure.
I'm not
it was costly, but it seemed to cut them down again with the same claim. That was the last straw. The Redditor called a professional to assess the property line and found that not only was the neighbor in the wrong, his fence was massively encroaching on the Redditor's property. Long story short, the neighbor lost 1/4 of his backyard and had to pay $10,000 for the destruction of property. This time, the plants stayed planted. This next video was captured at an Iron Stomach eating and drinking contest, where the contestants have to consume as much of the disgusting concoctions on offer as possible. Among the offered items were warm beer, cat food.
Hey, we all eat that? We all eat like cat food and warm beer, like warm beer. I'm talking about beer that just been sitting out for a minute, for like a minute or two, alright? Mixed with cat and you gotta gulp that down in a minute or two. We all do it? Say yes or say no.
Water, cottage cheese,
and
cold gravy, among plenty other options. The rules were simple. Consume as much as possible, and if you spew, you lose. There was even a trough dug out to catch leftovers. After reaching his limit, the fellow in the clip angrily throws his cup away and storms off in a sore loser's tantrum before slipping over straight into the trough. Coated in liquids too foul to describe, he tries and fails to escape, facing utter humiliation. Next time, Mr. Grumpy, eat your cat food with a smile. We all know patience is a virtue, and when impatience meets a sprinkling of stupidity and disregard for others' property, it is never far away to set things right. Like with this guy, whose tuk-tuk came up against a worthy foe, an unattended bicycle. The bike wasn't done yet, far from it.
For one, that's all you had to do. Why you couldn't stop it? There's no way.
Moving out to the high seas now, it's time for the tale of Francois L'Olonnais, a diabolical pirate operating in the Caribbean during the 1600s. He was known for doing unspeakable things to locals on the coastline towns he and his crew pillaged. To put it mildly, let's just say none of his victims were ever left in just one piece. Karma finally took its own chunk out of L'Olonnais when he was... If you're going to make the awful decision to steal from a store, you should probably, at the very least, make sure you've got a reliable way out afterwards. But 6 rookie criminals from Cincinnati, Ohio, forgot this golden rule when they attempted to load their backpacks with stolen goods from a dollar store in 2018. Of course, the fact that they'd chosen...
Why would y'all choose a dollar store? Anything y'all could choose, right? Any place y'all could choose at, right? Y'all choose a dollar store? You know how slow y'all gotta be to rob
a dollar store as their target already says all you need to know about their professionalism as thieves. But their incompetence also extended to their getaway vehicle, which refused to start once they'd left the store. With the thieves stuck trying desperately and unsuccessfully to get their car working, witnesses had plenty of time to note their appearances, which were later fed back to the police. By the end of the day, all 6 had been arrested. For a lesson on how to not be a criminal, look no further than Cincinnati's Simple 6. An ice cream man and Reddit user Perth Chippies9 gave a free ice cream to a girl whose mother couldn't afford one. He never expected it would cause a problem. But a moment later, he was approached by a woman who demanded 3 free ice creams for her and her kids. Understandably, Perth Chippies said no, explaining that his act of generosity was a one-off, triggering the woman to kick up a huge fuss. It didn't help her case when she started bringing the recipient of the free ice creams race into the equation. Perth Chippies had enough. In sight of the angry woman, he began handing out free ice creams to several other families who were sitting on the grass nearby. The woman stormed off.
But why not her?
Perth Chippies, on the other hand, basked smugly in his self-administered, deliciously petty dose of instant karma. Moving on, in the viral clip up next, a woman clearly thinks her conversation with a friend is more important than allowing the train to leave the station on time. Train delays are annoying annoying enough, let alone when they're caused by selfish individuals. With a swift nudge, the situation was resolved, much to the surprised pleasure of the other passengers. Between the 8th and 11th centuries, what is now the United Kingdom was a very common target for Viking raids and takeovers. One smaller conquest of this kind was carried out by Sigurd the Mighty in 892, after he developed a desire to expand his influence beyond the Isles of Orkney. He arranged the battle against a Pictish nobleman named Maelbrigte the Bucktooth, which was to take place.
Now it's something different. Come on.
Battle, as Mael's head bobbed around with every gallop of the horse, his large teeth pierced Sigurd's leg. The wound soon became infected, and Sigurd died shortly thereafter. Now, that's the kind of anti-cheating story I'll be bringing up next time I spot someone helping themselves to some free cash in Monopoly. Moving on, I think we can all agree that some of the worst people out there today make their living as streamers. And if you weren't already aware of this from the countless times I've proven it on this channel, here's some more evidence. Remzi is the streamer.
YouTubers don't be like the not outdated, but not the craziest out there. But when you look at screaming, bro, everybody, when you get screaming, bro, you see so much crazy things that streamers do on this channel. And they do it 10 times more crazy than an actual YouTuber.
Equivalent of a kid in the playground. Yep, that's the curb, pal. But you can bet his viewers lapped it up regardless.
You didn't even see it.
Anyone else increasingly feel like social media was a huge mistake? Time to rewind now. This timeless tale passed down through the generations begins at the end of the 19th century, when Texan Henry Ziegland broke his fiancée's heart by calling off their engagement. Henry survived the ordeal and 20 years passed. One day, Henry was carrying out some landscaping on his property, removing several trees in the process, but one was proving difficult to uproot. He resolved to blow it up with some TNT, which wasn't so unusual then as it sounds now. Henry detonated the TNT and died instantly. Not from the explosion itself, though. Buried deep within that tree was the very bullet that had missed him by a millimeter 2 decades earlier. In the explosion, it had been launched back out and hit its original mark. Seems his jilted lover finally got her payback.
How that even possible? How in the world did that bullet 2 decades hit that tree after grazing your face, and when the explosion happened, that bullet came for you? How did the bullet even know that was you? I don't get it.
Littering is never the mark of an upstanding citizen, but literally dirty diapers, that's like having a bumper sticker that says scumbag and proud. A litterbug decided to dispose of their kids' used diapers straight out of their car window on the I-65 freeway in August 2019. Karma reared its head. The dirty bomb flew gracefully back through the air and splattered immediately onto the windscreen of the vehicle behind. The vehicle, it just so happened, was an Indiana State Trooper's police car. The officer made no delay in writing a fine for littering. Even though a used diaper was involved, we all know the real piece of trash in this story was the driver who threw it. As we've seen so far, Karma really seems to have a twisted sense of humor, and nowhere is that better shown than in the next fan submission from Paul Brown, who witnessed it in action one day back when he used to work at Best Buy. An angry married couple stormed in with a laptop purchased the day prior, demanding to know why the internet wasn't working. Paul took a look and identified the issue. The laptop was riddled with viruses. He informed them that unfortunately they'd have to pay for the fixes, as the warranty didn't apply to these specific circumstances. This caused the pair to blow up, causing a massive scene. Eventually, they demanded to know where these viruses had come from. Paul asked them if they were sure they wanted to know.
You sure about that?
An explosive yes. And Paul obliged, and began listing off the names of countless explicit websites in the browser history right there at the counter, in front of a growing crowd of onlookers. The husband fell silent, and his wife icily told him they'd talk about this later. I'm sure that was a fun conversation. It's easy to get a little caught up in the wildness of competitive sports, but that doesn't excuse being a jerk to the players. After all, whether you're team or not, they're there for your entertainment. In In one game, Steve Sullivan of the Chicago Blackhawks sustained a painful hockey stick to the face, but this hockey fan didn't seem to care much about mutual respect as he mocked Sullivan from the other side of the barrier. Shortly afterwards, a stray puck flew through the air, over the barrier, and straight into the once mocking face of a certain deserving crowd member. Karma doesn't get much quicker or more appropriate than that. During the American Civil War, Union General John Sedgwick learned a very valuable lesson much too late, not understanding quite how accurate and far-ranging the sniping abilities of newfangled rifles were. He berated his men when they took cover from enemy fire. Striding pridefully in the open, he continued to berate them, telling them, "The enemy..."
I don't want to hear anybody say it, but I need to. But what in your mind thought that a sniper bullet wasn't going to hit you? A sniper can literally take off its scope, and if it's a real good ass sniper, it can kill you by instant without even looking at the scope. You Call of Duty or GTA playing around at that time, you would know better.
Couldn't hit an elephant at this distance. But not only could the enemy sharpshooters hit an elephant from the 1,000 yards that separated them, they could quite easily hit a human too. And moments after he'd mocked his comrades, he became successful target practice for a distant sharpshooting enemy. Permanently checked out of this war and all future wars. Some rules of the road should never be broken. Not driving on the sidewalk, for example. But not only did one woman from Cleveland, Ohio, repeatedly reject that rule, she did so along a sidewalk commonly walked by children. Every day, kids on a school bus would see her impatiently mount the pavement and speed along to avoid the legal requirement of waiting for the bus to move along. But one day, karma caught up, and it was all caught on camera. But the instant justice wasn't enough for the Ohio City Council. They decided to let the punishment fit the crime. So the woman was court-ordered to spend one cold morning in November 2012 standing on the busy road where her acts of chronic impatience were carried out, all while holding a sign that said, "Only an idiot."
It said only an idiot would drive on the sidewalk to avoid a school bus.
Drive on a school bus. So it was a fitting punishment. I think having it tattooed on the forehead would have been even better. If your dumb decided to break into a local business mere feet away from the trailer they were living in, cutting the fence, damaging, and pooping in a boat parked in the driveway, and using a flare to melt the lock on a storage container. This was all caught on CCTV, but the flare wouldn't be the only thing to burn that night. While the break-in was taking place, their trailer caught fire and was eventually engulfed in a roaring blaze. Locals theorized that the blaze may have been the result of an unattended narco lab in the trailer, something which only adds to the tally of idiot points for this bunch of budget burglars. Either way, by the time the thieves realized it was too late, and the trailer exploded, forcing them to flee the scene. Karma had delivered a burn they wouldn't forget. Hey, do you have any crazy instant karma tales of your own to share? Send them across to karma@beamaze.com, and I may feature yours with a shout-out next time. Let's return now to some inanimate objects dealing out karmic destruction. YouTube viewer Going Fubar shared something wild they experienced while working in the Parks and Streets Department of their local government. When one dangerous stretch of residential road became a hotspot for amateur speedsters, the town put a stop sign in the middle with hopes to slow folks down. It worked about as well as a chocolate radiator. The local racers began making a habit of knocking the sign, which consisted mostly of a wooden post, down to the ground repeatedly. After several costly reinstalls, the town planners got wise. They decided to replace the wooden post with a steel post painted to look like wood. Secured it to a concrete base reinforced with rebar crosspiece. When the next day the police department called to say a 60s Chevy Impala had totaled itself as the driver attempted to ram down the stop sign. Annoyingly, the post still broke, but at least it took the car with it, alongside the bank account of the car owner. He was forced to pay for the sign's replacement, in addition to jail time. Our next tale of sweet karma shared online occurred when an unsuspecting fella was walking to work in the rain one day. While strolling alongside the road, a horribly malicious...
Nobody tried to stop and ask if he need a ride or anything? Nobody asked?
Driver, with no intention but to make a stranger's day worse, decided to veer towards a large roadside puddle, clearly hoping to soak the poor pedestrian. Things took a wickedly karmic turn when the puddle turned out to be a massive pothole. See where this is going? The car dropped in the hole, losing control, and wrapping itself around a lamppost, totaling the vehicle. Our pedestrian, meanwhile, stayed bone dry.
Everything's coming up Milhouse.
In 2019, an Indonesian man named Muklis received a brutally suitable punishment for his own astounding hypocrisy. Muklis was a part of a council that drafted laws into existence in the Aceh region of Sumatra Island, whereby anyone guilty of adultery would receive a humiliating public whipping. Not long after Muklis assisted in the law's passing, was he caught, quite literally, with his pants down with a married woman. The adulterous pair were brought in front of the crowd, where the sting of justice was duly carried out. While the law is certainly barbaric, the lesson rings true. Practice what you preach, especially if you're practicing on another man's wife. Is karma a feminist? Well, this story from 1887 certainly raises a few questions. In an effort to have a jolly good laugh at the expense of the female sex, a handful of fellows, who were displeased with the success of women's rights activists in their Kansas town,
why did men why did they got so furious with the woman right? Hey, nowadays I'm glad that the woman right actually happened. Cause if it didn't happen, women would never get the same treatment and the same issue and be equal to men now to this day. And I'm glad it actually happened.
Decided to push to allow female involvement in politics, went on to win 60% of the vote. She became the first female.
Everything. That's why you don't see woman mayor or president. And you see women doing anything else, but being mayor or president is not one of them.
The next case of karma comes in the form of an unbelievably expensive act of truly delightful vengeance. When the owner and manager of a restaurant in Florida hosted renowned Brazilian artist Romero Brito in 2020, she was appalled by how the artist treated her staff. He was incredibly rude, telling the staff not to speak, to turn off the music, asking for unreasonable discounts, and altogether making the experience of other guests and staff alike extremely unpleasant. So, when Brito hosted an exhibition of his art in Miami, the restaurant owner went along, taking with her one of the artist's pieces that her husband had previously bought her. Here's what went down.
So your husband bought his piece, and you took it where he been at and smashed it right in front of him? Instant karma. Now, it is definitely karma. I can't blame her, because he was the one who actually treated her poorly at her job. So I can't lie if she...
That artwork she smashed was worth $5,000. Destroying it like that is certainly a statement, though I'm not sure who'd be more upset, the artist or her husband. Hunting's a controversial topic, but there's no denying that a deer probably isn't too pleased when it gets nailed with a deadly projectile. In this case from 2015, the projectile was a crossbow bolt, which injured the deer and caused it to flee. When the Wisconsin hunter responsible tried to track the deer down to finish the job, it leapt out of the thick brush and chased him down, headbutting him in the leg and leaving him in the hospital. While the fate of the deer after it took its revenge is unknown, I'm sure it felt satisfied at having slightly rebalanced the scales of justice for all his friends mounted above hunters' fireplaces. Next, this dash cam video featuring the aggressive driver of a comically unintimidating car is one hell of a ride. After being unhappily overtaken, the driver of the orange car tries to reclaim some dominance, which doesn't go so well. This angry driver learned the hard way that steering wheels are better use for your hands than obscene gestures on the highway. Moving on to something gross. In 2018, one man went to disturbing lengths to take pictures of the skirts of women in public, and thankfully was
You're going to jail, right? You're going to jail. Like, why do that? Like, you're taking pictures of a woman without their consent, and you think that right to do so? Explain to me where in the law that tell you can actually do something like that.
Punished by the universe. He rigged up a small camera to fit inside his shoe. For one Reddit user, karma came along with their other possessions in the U-Haul truck when they moved into their new home. After one of their new neighbors, a troublesome stay-at-home mom, threatened to vandalize their cars and left anonymous threatening messages for the Redditor's family, enough was enough. This woman, who clearly had too much time on her hands and took a pretty odd spin on love thy neighbor was reported to the police repeatedly. Eventually, it paid off. After seeing the Redditors' CCTV footage of their neighbor's insane behavior, the court permitted a restraining order against the woman. This restraining order didn't allow her anywhere near the Redditor's house. But best of all, the stated range of the restraining order included the woman's own house. This next story comes from Reddit user Arnil Bog, who unintentionally delivered a dose of karma to his sister on a childhood trip to Montreal. Having bought a hockey puck as a souvenir, Arnil Bog was understandably annoyed to find his sister had hidden it somewhere in their hotel room to tease him. Without the patience for diplomatic, as the parent-planned sleepover soured, things escalated, combat ensued, and Sir Slato reached for the nearest thing, the pillow this kid had brought around. Whack! The pillow emitted a loud, hard thump, and the other kid yelled in pain. Confused as to how a pillow had caused such a reaction, Slato shook it and dropped out his favorite teddy bear and a...
When I'll be shocked, like, if I hit somebody with a pillow and someone starts screaming, I'll be like, wait, why are you screaming? I didn't hit you that hard, didn't I? I didn't think so.
Sculpture. Kid had clearly been... There's nothing worse than someone whose terrible parking makes the lives of emergency workers difficult. Luckily, firefighters occasionally get the chance to teach problematic parkers a valuable lesson when their illegal parking blocks access to fire hydrants. When the need arises, firefighters will connect their fire hose to the hydrant by any means necessary. If that means...
That's the reason why they made a law where you can't park by a fire hydrant, because if a fire come in and firemen need the fire hose, right? They gotta go around your car, then they gotta attack the nigga. So that's why they said that.
Going through the car, so be it. A couple smashed windows, a small price to pay for potentially risking lives for selfishness, though I doubt the car owners usually see it that way. Still, I'll bet it's super satisfying for the firefighters to let off a little steam with a totally justified window smashing. No one likes a show-off, and neither does karma. The dingus in this next clip learned this very quickly with an unbearable embarrassment. While waiting at a stoplight, a motorbike rider decided to show off by pulling off a burnout. Not only did he fail and damage someone else's car in the process, he chose to lie on the floor in pure shame, too. Let's see that again. That's gotta be one of the most embarrassing things I've ever
gotta be the most
Incredible work.
Thing. I know.
In this next clip from 2016, a troublemaking kid learns a valuable lesson the hard way. While his friend discusses the schedule for a farmer's market with a local news interviewer, the kid in question begins hassling a couple cows in the background. That is, until the cows decide to teach him a lesson. The kid's rescuer seems tired of his shenanigans, as if this kind of nonsense is a daily occurrence. And his friend doesn't even turn around. It's a simple lesson. Don't mess with animals that are around 10 times your size. In 2015, one Florida man seemed to believe giving a fake name to the police was a genius tactic when he was pulled over for a cracked windscreen. Having lost his license due to a DUI, and with an outstanding warrant for aggravated battery out against him, the novice criminal gave a made-up name to the officer. But when the officer pulled up the details associated with that fake name, the criminal mastermind's plan fell apart. Why?
You were a criminal. So instead of they don't pull up his name, because if they pull up his name, they're gonna show the records or anything that he been a part of. So that why he gave a fake name. That's smart but stupid at the same time.
At the start of 2018, the founders of Mugshots.com were living it up on the profits of their business. Their company based itself around degrading mugshots of people from police websites before the police permanently deleted the images. They'd then upload the mugshots to Mugshots.com and turn them into cash. How? Well, having your mugshot online can make things like finding employment pretty tricky. So the people whose photos were featured on Mugshots.com would be forced to pay high fees for the website to remove the pics. This worked well for the founders for a while, until the authorities clocked onto the scheme, which was, of course, extortion. The founders were arrested, and in a delightfully suitable turn of events, their mugshots were posted and shared online for all to see. If you're ever curious about how to rack up tons of bad karma, look up Nikolai Yezhov. This unpleasant fellow was the head of the Russian secret police agency, the NKVD, from 1936 to 1938. In his short time there, he oversaw oversaw the application of terrible atrocities against hundreds of thousands of innocent people who
Wow.
were captured, interrogated, and much worse for their anti-communist agendas. Unfortunately, what constituted anti-communist was at the discretion of those who implemented the harsh totalitarian practices. Under Yezhov, the number of Russians imprisoned in the squalid work camps that were the gulags almost tripled in a mere 2 years. But, as was the tendency with communist leader Joseph Stalin, he soon decided that Yezhov was too powerful and knew too much. In 1939, Yezhov was...
I thought it sounded like Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler and Stalin don't sound the same at all. Joseph Stalin. Like, Stalin and Hitler don't sound
arrested over the next year. He would receive the same imprisonment, interrogation, horrific mistreatment, and eventually deletion that he had gladly overseen on so many occasions. Up next, a salacious story from a viewer whose dad worked the desk at a Las Vegas motel. So no surprise, some seedy stuff went down. After the respectable concierge politely declined some guests' requests for him to set them up with a few ladies of the night, they became rude and aggressive. And worse, later the guests returned, successful in their hunt for paid companionship, making sure the concierge saw and heard them shuttling their nighttime companions up to their rooms. Only it wasn't long before a raucous commotion emerged, but not the type you'd think. It was the sound of shouting and splashing as the ladies threw the men's clothes into the motel pool and ran off with their wallets. I guess bad behavior begets bad behavior, fellas. Another hilarious tale comes to us from view. If there's anything working on this video series has taught me, it's that karma often follows the rule of play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And one fella played a very stupid game indeed at the Makareli Predator Center in Thabazimbi, South Africa in 2018. The British man, who actually owned the place, got a little too cocky around one of the lions housed there. While inside the lion enclosure, he failed to be as cautious as you should be when in the territory of a lethal predator you've trapped against his will and paid the price. The lion began running over to him, and he failed to reach the gate in time, ending up being dragged by the neck. Luckily, he got out alive, but tragically, the lion was put down after the incident. Seems karma may have some work to do here. What do you think? When Reddit users...
Yeah, karma did work for him, but... the lion had to be dead?
Donner 1701 was T-boned by a reckless driver who then...